Most people think muscle growth comes down to genetics. But before you start blaming your genetics, let's start about what actually drives muscle growth. Because I've been lifting for over 8 years and I'm still growing and improving to this day. And right now, you might feel like you've hit your genetic potential after just 2 years of lifting. But the truth is, muscle growth is driven by a few controllable factors that you might have overlooked. And when those things are off, progress feels very random and you hit those points of stagnation. So I'm going to go into detail on what actually drives muscle growth and show you guys how hard you should actually be training, how to recover properly, and how to eat to support that. And this is just me being honest. Most people aren't training anywhere near their true potential because one common problem I see is that you might think you're pushing an RPE of 10, but you're really at an RPE of 7. That's because if you never actually push past failure, you won't be able to tell the difference. This is where most lifters hit those stagnation periods. And I'll give you a real example. One of my clients, before we ever started working together, he truly believed he was training to failure every session because in his mind, he was giving max effort. He was training hard. But here's the problem. He was getting stronger, but he hadn't put on any noticeable size for over a year. So I flew out to Dallas to watch him train in person, and almost immediately, the issue was clear. He was working hard, but his reps had no control and he was pretty much just chasing numbers. So we cleaned up his training style and still did the same exercises he always did. But we slowed down the reps, controlled the weight, and actually focused on the contraction of the muscle being trained. And by the end of it, he told me the workouts felt completely different from when he was training alone. That's why I say training with intention matters more than you think. But now we know exactly how to train and how hard to push ourselves. The next part is planning. And why does this matter so much? Why can't we just go in a gym and just work out whatever we wanted to, as long as we push ourselves to the max? And here's the thing though, when you plan your exercises, your rep ranges, your progression becomes measurable. You're no longer guessing how hard you actually train. So if the goal is 8 to 12 reps, and last week you hit 8 clean reps, you should be able to do more this week, whether it's a harder rep or more reps. Progress doesn't happen overnight, but it should happen. And if it doesn't, that's very useful information because it tells you something else is off, either your recovery, your sleep, or your diet. Now that we understand our training, that's it, right? I can finally focus on building my physique more effectively. And this is where most people mess up. You start training hard, you're in the gym all the time, you're on that grind mindset. You think you can just work past the soreness, push past the pain to just keep growing. But a huge part of building muscle isn't just training itself, it's also the recovery aspect. Training is the stimulus, rest is where you recover. Muscle needs stress to grow, but it doesn't grow during the workout. It grows when you rest and when you eat. And a lot of lifters don't actually care about resting, saying it's just being lazy. But if you're constantly sore, fatigued, and just numbers aren't improving, that's actually a sign not to add more, but your body actually telling you it's burning out. Getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep shouldn't be an optional thing, but an essential part of your training if you care about putting on muscle. Sleep is where your hormones regulate and the damage you put on your body actually recovers. I recommend at least one full rest day per week. When I say rest day, that doesn't mean a light workout or doing some light cardio. Just take the time off to recover and have that day to yourself. I personally take 2 rest days a week and function best on 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Anything less or more, I end up feeling sluggish, taking naps. And here's the thing, everyone is different, so your exact number might be different, but the principle stays the same regardless. Recovery is very essential to your training aspect. But now that we know training is a stimulus and rest is what allows us to recover, nutrition is what fuels the growth. Because you can train hard and recover well, but without proper nutrition, progress will happen at a slower rate. And our goal is to maximize muscle growth. So when it comes to dieting, don't overcomplicate it and just keep things basic. Protein should be a non-negotiable because it is what your body uses to repair and build muscle tissue. Without it, your workouts are just stress with no payoff. The minimum amount of protein you should get is at least 1 gram of protein per body weight. That means if I'm 200 pounds, I should be eating around 200 grams of protein. And carbs is what fuels your training. I would keep your carbs for before and after your workouts. And fats support hormones and overall health. Now, here's a mistake I see all the time. People think that as long as they're eating a lot of protein, everything else doesn't matter. But if most of your diet is coming from processed foods, fast food, fried food, junk, sugar, that's working against you. And I get that life is hard. It's not perfect. Everyone has different circumstances. But the foundation should always be whole foods. They keep you fuller, provide more nutrients, and are easier for your body to digest and recover from. Things like meat, rice, potatoes, eggs, fruits, and vegetables. The whole concept is keeping your food simple and repeatable. Don't overcomplicate the process and just do what you need to do to make things sustainable for yourself. And when you eat out, just make some substitutions. Get stuff grilled instead of fried. Go lighter on dairy or just completely take it out of your meals because dairy is super high in fats. When you get things like sauces, ask for it on the side. These don't feel like massive changes, but over months, they make a huge difference. And another thing is tracking your food. You don't need to track your food forever, but knowing what you're putting in your body matters, especially if your goal is to add muscle and not get fat. Tracking removes all that guesswork and tells you exactly how what you eat correlates with the scale. And just to summarize this whole video up, just eat high protein, get your maintenance calories in, and eat your whole foods. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it. Train hard, rest well, and if you're doing everything consistently, your body will have everything it needs to grow. Hopefully, this advice gives you some insight because muscle growth is random. It's not genetics at all. So if this video helped you, please drop a like. And if you have any further questions, feel free to drop a comment. And for the ones that want to take their training further, you can book a call in my calendar down below.